going on, everybody? Welcome. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Mountain Glass, Did Eclipse, and Glass Hive. So here we go. We're going to be making a implosion marble here today. What we're going to need is a 10mm punny, some color that is opaque, doesn't necessarily have to be black, and another color doesn't have to be that aqua color. That is actually silver aqua. You need a paddle, a marble mold. I use some tweezers, and I also use 7mm clear punties. There we go. I got 2 of those prepped up. So what we're going to do is, by starting off, we want to just clean up our rod. This is something that you definitely need to, make a practice of doing and get a nice routine of it, because you always want to start with a nice clean rod. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pinch off that front there, throw it in the water, and that's it. So if you don't do that, even like if it's cut from the factory, there's gonna leave some scuzz, and that scuzz is could be dirt, could be air bubbles, could be whatever. Even just a factory cut, or even if you've cut it yourself, it could still leave that. So you definitely want to just get rid of that. So what we're doing here is we're just getting a nice gather by heating the glass, spinning the glass, and really just getting a nice balance of the glass as it flops around. You just spin it to make it flop back to the center, and this takes a little bit of practice. We're gonna flatten this out. Excuse me. I'm gonna go back in the flame here and just kind of clean it up. It's a little fire polish. Every time you touch your glass to a cold piece of graphite, it's gonna ripple. All right, so here we go. We're gonna do a couple of dots. It's gonna be like the honeycomb pattern on here. So we're gonna do a dot in the center. I'm gonna dot on either side of that center in a nice straight line, and then you're gonna dot in between those two. So you're gonna have a dot in the center and then 6 dots around. You can see right here. The more perfect spacing you have, the better the end result will be. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put dots around in between those dots on the outer circle, and then again in between those dots on the outer circle. And you'll see what I mean here in just a second. And then you always want to kind of clean up the rod that you're using. So you see I kind of flame polished it and then rolled it on that graphite just to get a nice rounded edge. That way when you go to use it again, you don't have this pointy death spike ready to murder your finger if you accidentally grab it by the other end. I can't tell you how many times I've cut myself on, I think they call them devil's claw. The devil's claw will get you every time. So what we're doing here is we're just going to be rounding it out by, basically you're going to try to bring the clear glass around and to the front. And so what that's doing is it's pulling the color in, like almost like a vacuum. And that is what the implosion is. So once it's round, you're going to keep the heat only on the front. Not even really half, like if the front quarter, and you're gonna push it back down nice and flat. Now if you bring that heat too close to the punny rod, that flat move right there is very hard to keep center. That move right there is just hard to keep center in general. Just take some practice, you'll get it. So see here, the angle. So this camera, I kept the Diddy clips down, and I kept the exposure to be bright so that you can actually see what I'm doing. So I've got the glass angled down so that I'm heating the clear and it's coming down and around. And as you can see, I'm kind of shooting it in the middle. When you're doing this, you'll notice that it creates like a tunnel almost. And you don't want that. You want that middle to melt down and kind of go in with the color while the clear is coming around. You don't want to trap any air there, so it's kind of a little dance while you round it back out again. And so you can see it rounded back out nice and neatly. We're gonna go ahead and heat the front again. Come out, let it cool down a little. Oh yeah, see here's the implosion. So we're gonna let that rod cool down, kind of at the back of your marble there. We're gonna just heat the front. I'm gonna do another little squish. And when you squish, you can twist and squish at the same time. That helps to ensure that you're getting that squish down dead center. And that's really important. If you start squishing down and it's not in the center, your implosion will start to get wild. So we're just gonna do it again, and you can just keep doing this. You can do this 4 times, 3 times, more than 2 times. So 3 times probably is the least amount. But you can keep going. But know that when you keep going and you keep squishing down, there's only so far that the color can go. So the tips of the color are going to end up hitting colder glass, and they're going to squish out and kind of open up, kind of like a flower. So this particular implosion won't look right doing it that way, keep squishing and going down. But if you were doing, say, like a flower, that would be a great way to make it open. And so what I'm saying here is you could do another squish, but what you could also do is punty up to this and give it a twist, and then tear the punty back off, round it back out, and then flatten again, and then it'll give you just a different look. It's a fun technique. You can get really creative with it. You can do multiple colors. You can use fume with clear dots. There's just a lot of different ways that you can go about doing an implosion. And what I'm showing you here is just the very basic way. So when you're looking at the bottom, you couldn't really see it on that because everything is so hot. But you have like a little like an image, not an image, but you have like, sometimes it's something you want to keep, and sometimes it's something you want to cover. And this is the way you would cover it. So using an opaque color, like this is jet black, for instance, you just put right on the center a nice big gather. You don't want to try to like swipe around it to try to cover it. You don't want to try, trying to just put it dead center on the top. You always want to work center. So what we're doing is we're going to put a gather on the front here. And you can see it's just a big blob of black glass on the front of our nice marble. And we're going to heat it up. And with black, you want to stay behind, like pretty far back to get it to come to temp. And then once it's hot, you can get close to the front of the torch, and it won't boil. And this is true for a lot of CADs or a lot of colors in general. If you find yourself boiling colors once you start using color, stay way back in the flame and get it up to temp first, and then come back in, and you'll notice that you won't boil the color as bad or quickly as you were if you were just starting right in the flame. And some colors are more touchy than others, and sometimes you just have to melt everything in the back. So here we have what's going on now. So I melted all that black in, and I kept it kind of horizontal, and then I started angling my elbow back. And so you'll probably hear me say like elbow down or elbow up. And what that is that's how you're holding the glass. So if your elbow is down, then you've got the glass kind of pointing like up. You know what I'm saying? Like that. If your elbow is up, then you're kind of pulling glass down. So your glass is facing down. So when you're trying to gather, you're gonna have your elbow down so that the glass falls back on itself. And so if you have everything horizontal, nothing's gathering, nothing's moving, but it's all kind of getting happy and being cool with itself and each other. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and use the marble mold now that it was all nice and hot. And as you can see, and I'll talk about this again when we go in there, but what you do is you heat the front quarter to half, not even really half. You come in the marble mold at an angle. So I see that little diagonal, and you kind of move it like that. See, you go down and you come back up, and you're really rounding out that whole front end using the lip. So a lot of people think that the marble is made by the actual wall or the floor of the marble mold, but no, it's actually the lip. And so that's why these bump molds are great. All right, so we're gonna punty up to it, and since it's black, I'm gonna use a black punty, and this is a hot seal. So as you see, I got the glass hot, the marble's hot, and the punty is hot. I touched, I pulled, and I let go, and I just kind of let it dangle as I spun. And what that's gonna do is that's gonna allow gravity to let it cool down, and you're not gonna be fighting it by if you're accidentally twisting it more than the other side, or if you're accidentally pulling it one way or another. And it's just a great way to let that glass set, and it'll end up being nice and straight and even. And yeah, so that's the best way to do a punny on a hot seal. So yeah, we're just gonna melt off this whole front section here, and as you saw, I got it nice and hot, and I pulled a lot of that out of the way. And so what that allows me to do is it leaves just a little bit of glass on the actual marble, so that there's less work that has to be done. You don't want to pull it and just get rid of that whole marble shape that we've been working on. So you want to really pull it out, and just give it a nice stretch. And it's a good time to play around and see how glass stretches, how are stringers made, and that's another episode for sure, stringers. So we're just gonna heat that front again. We're getting rid of that little bump, and we'll go into the marble mold at the angle and spin and drop the angle and spin it up, and just keep using the lip. See, just kind of going around, changing my angles and spinning at the same time. Coming in, fire polishing, and getting rid of any of the ripples that graphite might have caused in the glass. And it might not be round yet. Nope. So we're going to go ahead and use the marble mold again, spin it out. If you got a nice long punty, I like putting the glass in between my hands, and then like giving it a nice like Karate Kid type twist. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a nice point on this 7 mil. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the punties that we're connecting smaller and smaller, so that each time we switch axes, you're leaving less and less glass to correct. So we're gonna do a little bit less of a hot seal. So you saw, like, I got things hot. I pulled it out, and I counted about like 5, I'd say, and And then now it's a cold seal. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna get that punty hot just where it's touching the glass and give it a little wiggle. And you want that to move and not the clear punty. And it'll just come right off like that. And it'll leave just a little bit of a mark. And go ahead and clean up your rods. So get into a habit of cleaning up the rods. I think I might have talked about that earlier. It just gives you the, I don't know, it's just nice not to have a bunch of pointy rods. So we're just gonna clean up that one spot. And it's a color. So color takes a little while. It takes a lot more heat to move than the clear. So I gave it more attention before I hit the clear. And the heat base kind of just pushes itself into the clear. So I'm heating up that black, but it's really heating the color and the clear pretty much the same amount. So we just rounded it off, getting rid of that punny mark. And I believe I'm just talking about, moving the angles around when you're spinning in a marble mold. I'm surprised I'm not doing my Karate Kid movement here. Yeah, just spinning, spin, spin. All right, so now we're gonna switch axes again. You just want to jump around and make sure this marble is nice and round. So you jump around all the different axes. So we did the back, we did the front, now we're on the side, now we're hitting the other side. And sometimes that's all it takes. Sometimes you look at it and be like, oh man, I gotta do this again. And you just keep going. So we're gonna do a colder seal. We're gonna get what we're gonna stick hot, pull it out, and then what we're gonna stick to it hot, pull it out, count, touch, pull, and it'll just be nice and solid right then, because it's such a cold seal. It's not gonna move around. And so again, we're gonna heat and then move it around, and it'll just pop right off. Well, yeah, there it goes. And it's just gonna leave a little bit of glass. So again, you're just gonna heat up right where that spot was and try to stay away from the rest of the marble, because you really don't want to move the marble around too much and ruin what you've been working on this whole time. So we're just heating the front. We're gonna roll it in the marble mold, go in diagonal, get your angles, move it around, spin it. And I believe that's it. This marble is nice and round. And like I said, sometimes it takes a lot just to keep going back and forth, back and forth. So this was a nice cold seal. So you should be able to technically just kind of tap it with some tweezers like this, and boom, it pops right off. And I ended up doing it into this handheld marble mold so that I can lift it up into the flame like this, because this is, if you don't have a mini torch, I do have a mini torch, and normally I just pop it into this mold that I have sitting on the lathe and come at with the mini. But I figured most of you guys might not have mini torches, so this is how you get in there with a handheld marble mold. Just hit that spot, roll it around, check it, and if you did your cold seal right, then you won't have a mark. And gravity will bring it down. And here is our marble that we just made. It's nice implosion. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Please give me feedback. Let me know what you think. Am I talking too much? Does it sound good? The video good? You want any other angles? Again, I appreciate everything. Thanks for checking out the Patreon. Have a great day and good luck. Also, let me see it. Let me see what you got.
Ugh. The only glass you should be touching is the glass door at the unemployment office.